do for each individual blade. The amount of wear the blade has when you start really dictates what you need to do. Your blade may not be super dull. You may just need to strop it a few times, and I'll show you that in a minute. Or you may need to just start with the medium or fine grit. Now after you're satisfied with where your blade is, we're just going to wipe some of this off real here, being careful not to slice my leg open. Once you're satisfied with where your blade sits, then you'll move up to the fine stone. And again, just a little bit of liquid. All you're doing is trying to keep the metal shavings from clogging the pores of these stones. It's not that you need the lubricant to sharpen it. It's that you need it to keep it clean and to keep your stones working at peak efficiency. So we're going to give this a few strops here. And you'll notice my style, so to speak, is a little bit different once I get to this fine stone, because I'm polishing that edge. So what I'm doing really right now is lining up those little micro serrations that I put on this blade, refining them a little bit more, and getting them to lay in a pattern that's accustomed to what I like to do. It's all in how I use the blade, not so much necessarily how you would do it. And there's a lot of people out there that do this a whole lot different than I do. Nobody's wrong or right. If you achieve a workable edge that suits your style of doing things, then you're right. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do this when you're sharpening a knife. I know some people harp on me because I never use a stone to flatten this down or anything like that. That's just not me. That's not what I do, so I don't do it. After I've gone to the fine stone, this is a 1200 grit Norton India stone that a friend gave me because he dropped it and broke the edge off of it. But the backside's fine. Nothing wrong with it. I'll take this and just give it some good smooth lays on it. And after you get to doing this for a while, you get the feel of what that blade feels like when it's sliding correctly. Really, you shouldn't feel anything because you're not using a lot of tension. And you'll know what the blade sounds like as you do this. And I mean, like I said, a Mora knife, if you're a novice at sharpening a knife, there's not really a whole lot you can do to mess this up. As long as you keep that blade at the angle that the factory set it at, and you do roughly the same number of strokes on each side, you're going to end up with an extremely sharp, functional blade that will hold an edge like nobody's business. I mean, these things just blow my mind at how well this knife sharpens and how well it holds that sharp edge. Alright, now once we've gone over it with the Norton stone for a while and we've checked our edge, we've felt it, we know what it feels like, maybe you've done a paper test. Another test is just take it and lightly drag it along your fingernail, very lightly. That'll tell you if there's any nicks you need to work out. The last step that I do when I'm at home is this is just a piece of 3000 grit wet dry sandpaper, just a little mist. I don't tighten it down onto the block or anything like that. And then I'll run it backwards and forwards. And all I'm doing is polishing that edge up a little bit more. This helps to strop it, to relieve any of the little wire edge that may be on it, although I don't see the wire edge on a Mora like I do on any of my other knives. Just taking some of that extra water that's clinging to the blade, slinging it off. It gets a little bit of a slurry on it, but I also use that to rub that blade down carefully. You don't want to slice yourself open, especially not if you're doing this in the field. And then just give it a little wipe down. That'll help remove any surface rust or anything like that that may be on the blade. Keep it clean for you. Now that blade is already, I mean, she's ready for business now. But We could go a step further and get a leather belt and strop it 20-30 times on each side with that leather belt and just refine that edge even more. But I don't think that's necessary right now, especially since we're going to show you the other way we do this. And while we do, we're going to pour us a little bit of cocoa in my little cup here. We're going to pour us a little bit of our water in there because she is going. And then I've got some beef ramen noodles here. Pour the seasoning packet in there. I usually just crunch them up. Throw these in my little trash can. Let that sit for a minute, and then I'll put one of my ramen noodle cubes in there. Yeah, I know. It's dirty. I'm using it anyway. Alright. While I'm letting that warm up more,